Come on. I never read over there where Jesus laid his hands on somebody and they died. Jesus laid hands on them and leprosy came on them. Well, I mentioned a minute ago, the woman just touched his clothes. There was so much life flowing in him, she touched his clothes and was healed. Get it settled. Listen, the kingdom of this world, the people of this world are what? They lie and living in darkness, in the culture of death. You and I have come out of darkness into the kingdom of His dear Son, and that kingdom is ruled by a different principle, life. Life. Say that with me. Life. Doesn't that just sound better than death? Life. You are called and destined for life. I can see I probably won't even get through with the introduction today. That He might destroy him who holds the power of death, that is the devil, and free those who all their lives were held in slavery by their fear of death. Now, not only is He talking about physical death, I think that's the obvious one. The world is doing everything to avoid death, prolong the inevitable, prolong having to reach that moment where they come face to face with death. As I said, it's everywhere around us, isn't it? You ride down the road, you see the graveyard. Everywhere you look, if you know, on TV, radio, any internet, doesn't matter where you look, what? Death, death, death's not far, death. Oh, you may hear one good story, but it's death, 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 death. And it begins to what? It begins to renew our mind, and we begin to think death, death. That's why it's so difficult sometimes when we start talking about the overcoming power of the life of Jesus in resurrection to overcome death, to overcome sickness, to overcome lack, to overcome all the vestiges of death. Because listen, when death came in because of sin, listen, all the things that we now face every day came in with death. Lack, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of rejection, disappointment, discouragement, hopelessness. All that came in as a result of what? Death. And every day we are bombarded by death. Death is trying to rule and reign in our lives. And you and I have to understand and know this and rise up in the power of the life of the Son of God who was resurrected to give you life, and understand and know this, that the life that is in Him, that is now in me by His Spirit, is greater than the death that's at work in the world. Because, honey, if it's not, you might as well, as Paul said, you might as well eat and drink and be merry, for tomorrow you will die and it's all over. Hello? If Jesus wasn't raised from the dead, honey, we should be doing something totally different this morning. And if His raising from the dead did not make any difference, what is it all about? So at some point in time, He said here, He came to free us, what? From the fear of death. Death says you won't win. Death says you're going to know loss. Death says you're going to know grief. And that is the best that you can possibly hope for. Are you listening? Now listen to this. Death. 4 things that death produces in our life. There's other things too, but listen. First, separation. This is probably the one we think of most when we think of death. Separation, where it's a separation from a loved one, passing on. Isn't that right? But you know what? Separation also means separation from the purpose. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. They had a purpose in God, a relationship with God. When death came in, what? They were separated from it. And so death brings separation. Some of you this morning, even though you may be believers, you know that death has come in as you walk through this world, and it has brought a separation. Maybe from a lost loved one. Maybe you lost a dream that you had at one time. Maybe you've lost your purpose in God, and you're just getting up every day, you're breathing in air, you're going through the motions, but there is no life in what you're doing. There is no fulfillment. There is no purpose in what you're doing. And I want to tell you, when you get to that point, you're just ready to go on. I said you're ready to go on. So separation is one of the things that death tries to bring into our lives. Whether it's a purpose, a relationship, a dream. Then also death, what? It reveals weakness, doesn't it? The inability for me to overcome, the inability for me to succeed in life, the inability for me to escape death's grip and the grave and all of those things. It is weakness. Death signifies and reveals to us that what? Man is weak. But thank God, when we talk about the resurrection, what it is life coming in. It is strength coming into weakness. It is life overcoming my weakness. It is the resurrection life of Jesus overcoming my weakness. And though I was weak, what does he say? Let the weak say, I am strong. Why am I strong? Because life is in me. The life of the Son of God is living in me. It also, death brings what? Failure. Failure means a loss of fulfillment or a lack of ability to achieve something. And every one of us have probably faced that in our life. Anybody in here besides me ever failed at anything? Man, before I met the Lord, I was a failure going somewhere to happen. Hey, man. Oh, man. I excelled at failing. Come on. So did you before you knew the Lord. You wasn't such a hot shot. You laughing at me, but I want to tell you what, you wasn't such a hot shot without the Lord. Isn't that right? And so we've all known that. But now that Jesus has come into my life, the life of God, you know what? Now I'm what? I'm more than a conqueror through Him. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm not a failure anymore. I'm a success in Him. Why? Because His life has come into me. His wisdom, His abilities come into me. Now I can live in life. We're talking about Jesus as the life giver. What does resurrection mean? It means that now that power that raised Jesus from the dead has come into me. Not just to quicken me from the grave, yes, that's true, but to quicken me now in this life from all the works of death. I read earlier in Romans 8:2, it says, for the law of the Spirit of life. What's at work in you if you're a believer? The law of the Spirit of life. The law of the Spirit of life. What does life have in it? Life has peace. It has joy. It has victory. It has faith. It has patience. It has forgiveness. It has a healing power. It has power to break bondages. Life. You know, one of these days, there's going to be so much life quickened in you, you're going to have a brand new body. Life is just going to come into those old death-ridden cells in your body. Shoom. And there's just a shift into another dimension. Shoom. The dimension of life. But thank God we can have life now working in us. And then hopelessness is a product of death. You see lots of people going through this life hopeless. Life has beaten them down. They're discouraged. They're disappointed. Life hasn't been everything they wanted it to be. And so now they're hopeless. And you know what? Every one of us have probably tasted in some measure death like this. Death like this. We've had a dream stolen. We've lost the separation in a relationship, or maybe a failed marriage, or maybe lost a family member in death. We've all experienced the discouragement of failure. We've all faced the fact that we're weak in ourselves and there's an inability to do.